Chicano did not mean the same to my father as it did to me. Americans thought of the word to describe Chicanos, and I quote, persons who were poor, unskilled, uneducated, ignorant, and backwards. My father found the word offensive, for he was a hardworking and proud man. I was one of 7 children. This breaks my heart. Born to Angelo Flores and Genoveva Gonzalez. My father was born in Jamaica, Mexico, and my mother was born in Aurora, Illinois. My father came here along with other Mexicans to work in the railroad in Galesburg, Illinois. We, along with other family members, worked and lived in railroad boxcars. I don't know how many people know about the life of boxcars, but it was rough. Life could be difficult for people who worked hard to get ahead. My family had to leave the boxcar because my father was not well and could not do the work anymore. But my dad later got a job working for a company, and he worked there for over 30 years. I forgot to say my father got blind, but anyway. In latter years, my mother would talk about how she and my older sister would go up the hill in the camp and fetch water to use in the boxcars, which had no running water. She talked about how she had so much fun with her sisters going up to fetch water and falling and getting all wet, then having to go back up and get more. It is hard to believe in the mix of all this, there was still laughter. My parents were unable to care for us as children. We were very young at the time, and we were taken away from them. We spent our childhood in a Catholic orphanage. We were raised by nuns from Canada who were very strict. My father told me when I was there that I always cried because I wanted my beans and tortillas. I left the orphanage after 8th grade. I went to live with my mother, who lived on 18th Street in the south side of Chicago. I went to a Catholic school, but the nuns would not pass me because I didn't have money to pay for the bill. I had to redo my 9th grade over again at Harrison High School, but I had to quit because I was afraid of the gangs. In my later years, I got my GED while working and taking care of my family, my husband Jim, my son Russell, and my daughter Cassie. I remember when everybody would get together at my grandparents' or aunt's house on Christmas Eve to make tamales, beans, salsa, and fresh tortillas. All the windows dripping with steam as we women worked our hearts out, and as usual, the men in the living room drinking tequila. Our family all lived very close to each other, and it was nice to have my children's grandmother close by and always having Mexican food cooking in the kitchen. This is why 18th Street was important to us. It's the place where our families lived, including my aunts, uncles, and cousins. It's a place where we went to church, did shopping. Many of us had jobs, including my first job as a dishwasher. For sure, 18th Street had its dark side, drugs, crime, but it was mainly a place where we, as Mexicans, shared our history and our identity. I learned through the years of uncertainty, I had choices. I had to choose if I was going to let my life be miserable. I had to choose if I was going to let people drag me down because I was Mexican. I had to choose if I was going to make my parents proud of me or if I was going to face life with my head held high, and I chose the latter. But what I have not said was how we were treated because we were Mexicans. We were ignored for things like going to the store, not in our neighborhoods, to buy things, waiting patiently for clerks to wait on us, and watching them always serving other people. Or how we were looked at when we went into certain restaurants not in our neighborhoods or places to live, even being treated differently in the orphanage, no longer being able to speak Spanish and having my name changed from María del Rosario Flores to Rosemary Flores. Was I upset about this? Yes, I was, but as I was not going to let this define my life. To me, hate looked ugly. Although I did not participate in the Chicano struggles, I was aware of it. Life to me was centered around my family. But I would like to finish by saying, Chicanos are far, far away from being, and I quote, persons who are poor, unskilled, uneducated, ignorant, and backwards. We are proud people who care for our families and our way of life. We are doctors, nurses, politicians, teachers, farmers, educators, caregivers, and much more. I am proud to be a Mexican, Chicano, or whatever people want to label us as, but I don't worry about labels. All I worried about was that I did the best that I could to raise my family, to love and be loved, and proud of what I am, a Chicana.